Can we please stop talking about the benefits of stretching? Everybody knows the benefits of stretching, and it is the least important, the least mind-blowing aspect of your yoga practice as an athlete. I'm back for another episode. My name is Annette Corbin, and I help athletes and teams just like you navigate what it means to play under pressure, what it means to play at the collegiate level, and how you handle not just the physical, but the mental stress of competitive sports. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the 3 things that your yoga practice needs and what happens when we move the conversation beyond stretching and we actually focus on the real benefits of yoga. This is going to be a good one. Tune in, sit down, grab a pen, take some notes because I'm going at it all. Let's get into it. I have played numerous sports throughout my time, and I can tell you that it doesn't matter if we were winning, if we were losing, if we were a mid-level team, that behind the scenes, it was completely and utter nonsense. It was ratchet. It was drama. It was anything but what you would expect when you talk about playing team sports. And so when I talk to coaches about infusing the practice of yoga, what I'm always kind of blown away with is this emphasis that coaches want to harp on in terms of stretching. People want to talk to me all day long about the recovery aspects of yoga, and yeah, our team just needs to kind of stretch out. We're tight, we're sore. No, your team is ratchet. That is what yoga helps you do. Yoga helps you create peace. This is not about flexible hamstrings or alleviating tension in the body. This is about alleviating tension within your team dynamic. Can we start to shift this conversation around what's on the other side of a consistent yoga practice besides your ability to touch your toes? Because the greatest impact that yoga can have for athletes is not mobility or stretching, but peace. But creating an environment where your players feel like they can show up and be who they are. Creating an environment where players hold themselves to a standard of excellence, where they are accountable for performing at a certain level. We were talking about creating an environment of integrity, of discipline, of self-study, of kindness. If I look back on my college career, we were second in the Big Ten. My senior year, we were such a great team. When I looked down on the lineup, I would be like, man, player after player after player, high caliber, big, strong, fast, competitive. We were an absolute terror of a program. Yet, when you look behind the scenes and you actually started to piece together the dynamics of how players interacted or what kind of team chemistry we had, it was abysmal. It was embarrassing. It was drama from sunup to sundown. And so I think back to myself, if we were able to take that team and eliminate the drama and actually add in some of these components like kindness, like accountability, like integrity, like discipline, like non-attachment, or being able to show up to the moment as it is without creating the story, or gratitude, that would have been a completely different experience. And so what I want to stress to you is that when you build your yoga practice, if you are an athlete, if you're a coach, or if you're someone who deals with athletes, listen to this next part. This is the part I want you to write down because this is the thing that we are not talking enough about. Your yoga practice should have 3 distinct parts. If it doesn't have these 3 parts, 1, you're in the wrong class, and 2, you are selling yourself short. The first thing is that your yoga practice should take care of your mind. If you are just stretching and jumping on a mat and jumping off, that's cute, but that's like only a small sliver of what you should be focusing on. Your practice should take care of your mind, your body, and your performance. Those are the big 3. Mind, I'm talking about meditation. I'm talking about being okay in the discomfort. I'm talking about your ability to sit still and to absorb what is so that you can extract the lessons, you can be coachable without the story. And when I say the story, I mean that every time somebody is telling you something, we are taking it through our own lens and creating a story around what it is that they said. Your coach says you need to work on a certain skill set. You interpret on the other side, I suck, my coach doesn't like me, I'm too fat, I'm too slow. You start to create a story around what it is that they're saying. And that story usually has nothing to do with what was actually said. So the ability to just take that message and break it down allows you to then move forward without all of the mental gymnastics that is required when you add a story. The second part of this is your body. And this is the most obvious part. We talk about stretching all day long, and I'm not going to talk about it here because you already know the benefits of stretching. It makes you feel better. It allows you to move your body better. It allows you to stay in the game longer. The player who stays in the game longer has a better chance of winning. Yes? Yes. Let's move on. The third part, and the part that I do not see almost ever, is using the practice of yoga to improve your performance. So when we start to talk about your ability to interpret the yamas and the niyamas, which are principles to live a more peaceful, meaningful existence, when you can infuse those into your training and into your lifestyle, then when you encounter challenges, when you encounter turbulence or resistance, you have a toolkit to draw from in order to, again, move forward. All of this is so that you don't get stuck. Mentally, physically, emotionally, you need to keep moving forward. And that's what these tools are for. So when we talk about a yoga practice, again, you want to make sure that your practice is including these three things: your mind, your body, and your performance. You want to be able to create an ecosystem, an entire way of life, so that when you do step on the field, you are equipped to handle all of the challenges that come with it. And if you haven't noticed, that goes way beyond stretching your hamstrings. And when we sit there and we look at what's possible with a practice for athletes, we have to take into account the fact that the yoga practice for an athlete is not the same as a general public class. Not all yoga is created equal. And a lot of times I get flack for this, or people think that I'm kind of talking down to other teachers. I'm not. Every practice or every different type of yoga has its own purpose. And when we start talking about working with athletes, we have to take into account your starting point. So the class for an athlete is different than anybody else's class, not because of your ability, but because of your starting point. By the time I've seen most athletes, they've gone to prehab, rehab, conditioning, lifting, training, school. Maybe they have a job, maybe they don't, but you get the point. By the time they see me, or you see me, you're exhausted. The last thing I'm going to do is run you through another workout. That's not the purpose of your yoga practice. The other thing that happens when you're in a general class, like if I was to look at you and I were to split you down the middle, I would look at the imbalances in your body and then say to myself, okay, this person's gait or the way that you walk is a little bit disjointed. Maybe you have a little bit more internal rotation on the right hip. Maybe you have a little bit more elevation on your right traps. Maybe you have like your head goes slightly to the left when you're standing straight up and down. And I would say, okay, what stretches or what movements could we do in order to even out your imbalances? Because when the body is symmetrical, it moves the way that it was intended. However, if you're an athlete, your imbalances are crucial. They are what help you generate power. They are what give you your unique ability for whatever sport it is that you're playing. So I am not going to try to take that away from you. That elevated shoulder, that might help you throw the ball a little bit faster. That internal rotation of your hip might allow you to kick a ball a certain way or plant with your standing foot a certain way. So when we look at athletes, the objective is not to create equilibrium or perfect balance. The objective is to move you back to the middle just a little bit so that you can alleviate aches and pains. So that when you play, you're not struggling for basic movement. Or better yet, when you leave and you're just in your regular everyday, you can walk up and down the stairs without discomfort. You can leave the training room and have a normal existence without sharp shooting pains every other second. So the objective again is not to bring you to equilibrium, but to eliminate some of those aches and pains so that you can move a little bit easier. You can enjoy your life. You can actually have this sense of mobility that feels freeing, where you actually don't notice it. When you don't notice your body, that means we're doing something right. So when we start to step away from this idea of just looking at yoga as this mechanism to stretch, we open the door for so much more in terms of your development as a player and as a person. So again, the most exciting and enticing thing about a yoga practice is not stretching, but the access to peace. When you're able to incorporate the three principles of your mind, your body, and your performance, now you have checked all of the boxes and you can move in a space where you feel free. You feel like you have done everything that you can to prepare yourself to perform and to compete. And from here, you have that sense of peace. If what I'm saying to you and if what I'm presenting makes sense to you and it feels like, yeah, this is what I need to focus on, then I want you to hit that like and that subscribe button so that we can continue this conversation about what it means and what it takes to play at your highest level. So again, like and subscribe. Every week I'm going to be dropping these mentor clips where we talk about what are the things that are holding you back and how you can move forward. So today we talked about the three things that your yoga practice should have: something that takes care of your mind, your body, and your performance, meaning that you're moving beyond stretching. We talked about why the yoga practice for an athlete is different than everybody else. And it doesn't have to do with your abilities, it has to do with your starting point. We also talked about the objective of a yoga practice for an athlete. We're not trying to create perfect symmetry like we might do in a general or public class. In essence, what we're trying to do is to alleviate aches and pains and bring you back just a little bit closer to the middle where you can move around without losing your power, without losing the dynamic movement that you have within your sport. What I want you to really take away from this is that not all yoga is created equal. So many times I hear coaches say, well, any yoga class will do. And if you're an athlete, you know that this is not the case. You have gone to a yoga class and said for yourself, I don't really see how this is useful. Or, man, that kind of hurt. Or, man, that didn't really feel like I did much. That's because you're not going to a class that is specifically designed for your experience. It's the reason that I created Yoga Sport. It's the reason that I've built programming around this, because I realized, even after 10 plus years of teaching yoga and then working with teams, that it's not the same. Transitions are different, structure is different, because outcomes and objectives are different. So it's time for us to broaden this conversation around what it means to practice yoga as an athlete and what are the real benefits of a yoga practice that go way beyond touching your toes. Thanks so much for tuning in. Again, my name is Annette. Until the next time, I will see you soon.